we want to elaborate a little bit about Qigong and Aikido connections. And it's also very interesting to look at an art from another perspective, because every art has its strength and its weakness. And looking at the art we study and love, we can learn a lot by looking from other perspectives. And I continue my journey to look at Aikido from the Qigong perspective. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's start. Onegaishimasu. Okay, I don't know if you have a partner or not, but if you don't, you can imagine some of the exercises. But what I would like to start with is a solo training, just focusing on your center. And if this is our center, we could also imagine it's the same thing, but in 3-dimensional. It's the same image, but 3-dimensional. And it's interesting to observe the very core and the movement around. So let's do a little exercise where we imagine the core of the center as very dense and deep inside, and the energy moving around the center. It's also the center, but it's moving around the center. And something I want to say about every center, we have different centers in the body, different names, whatever. The center is not just a place, it's a level of awareness. So if we say we use our hara, it doesn't just mean we use our belly, it means that we use a level of awareness that's connected. And it's useful, connected a lot to that area, but it's not just a place, it's a level of awareness. And when we grow the awareness for that quality, we can increase the energy in that center. So let's focus on the lower center. I use usually all the 3 dantians, the upper dantien, middle dantien, and the lower dantien. For me, the hara actually includes all of them, even though we focus a lot down. But in the Qigong, the lower dantien is someplace below the navel, deep inside. And let's work on that, the lower dantien now, the lower center. And you can sit on a chair or sit in seiza as you like. And what I want you to do first is to imagine the core deep inside and then start to move. If you want, you can have your hands on your center or just leave your hands, but you move around this core. And you can change directions because it's 3-dimensional. So it's turning circles around the very core. And try to imagine the core very dense, very deep, and not such a big area in the middle. But the energy moving around your center is also your center. And it's connected, it has a relationship to the core. So we are spinning around the very core of our center using this image. Circles moving around, and you can change the direction of the circles. We don't care so much about this now, but more using our mind, our image of turning around the center with the energy of the center. Breathing in and out through your nose, holding the energy inside. Spinning, turning around the core of your center. Relax your shoulders, your neck, and the rest of your body. And then we slow down and become still. Just sitting still and feeling the very core of the center. This place in the middle of the circle. A dense place inside. And then we put our fingers just below the navel, 2 centimeters about. And then we breathe out and we compress this place. And then we breathe in and expand this place. Breathe out, compress. Gently push your hands inside, compress your center. And then gently breathe in and expand from this place. And we're not just compressing front and back, we're compressing in all directions into the core. And we are expanding in all directions out from the core. Use your breath, use your mind to compress and expand the core of your center. And relax. Take a deep breath and relax. Now let's feel the alignment of the 3 dantians, the 3 centers we use in Qigong usually. The one in the center of our head, the one in the center of our chest, and the one in the center of our belly. Feel how they are aligned so that they are on top of each other. And all of them are between heaven and earth. One is moving up to the sky, and then you can move down to the earth. And all 3 centers are aligned. Upper dantian, middle dantian, and lower dantian. So this is a way to explore our mind and our energy system, to feel these 3 centers aligning. Now we will focus a lot on the lower center, but I feel it's always important to connect to these 2 other centers. So they are working together, but we will focus on the lower center, include the other ones. So we'll make one more solo exercise and using the same image, this image, which could also be this image. It's the same, but it's 3-dimensional. So what we'll do is to breathe in a 4-step way. We breathe in and we will expand the breath to the outer circle, which means our body or the aura around us, or the egg, as we say in Qigong. So the energy field or the external body is expanded by the in-breath. Then the first out-breath, you release the breath and you drop the chi. Dropping the chi means dropping your awareness into your lower body, into your tailbone, and into the earth, relaxing your shoulders and your posture. So you release the breath and drop the chi. It's a way of relaxing and sinking into the earth. The second in-breath, we rise the chi into the posture, into the top of the head and up to the sky. So your posture coming up, you feel the top of your head almost pushing from inside and then expanding up to the sky. And the second out breath, we will draw in and expand out. This is what I call absorbing and expanding at the same time. Absorbing in, expanding out. So if I show it with my hands, the first breath, you breathe in, you expand. Fill up your body, your mind, and the space around you. Then the first out breath, you release the breath and you drop the chi. Relaxing your upper body, sinking into your lower body, into the earth, releasing the breath. The second in-breath, you rise the chi. You feel your posture pushing at the top of your head up into the sky. And the next out breath, you draw in and expand out. It means you're absorbing into the center, the core of your center, while you expand the energy out. Expanding and absorbing at the same time. So these 4 steps. So let's do it together. We breathe in and expand, filling up the body and the space around the body. Then we breathe out and sink the chi. Drop the chi into the lower body, through your tailbone, into the earth. Breathe in, rise the chi inside to the top of your head, into your posture, and up into the sky. Posture coming up. Now, you can put one hand on your center if you want. Now, release the breath and draw the chi in and expand the chi at the same time. Absorbing and expanding. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, drop. Breathe in, rise. Breathe out, absorb and expand. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, drop. Breathe in, rise, expand up to your posture. Breathe out, absorb in and expand out. Again, breathe in, expanding into your posture, into your body, into the space around you. Release your breath and drop the chi. Breathe in, rise the chi to the top of your head and up. Release the breath. Draw the energy in and expand the energy out at the same time. Absorbing, expanding. Okay, so Mats, I'll do a little exercise with this. So he's connected to me. First, I will expand. I breathe in. I fill up my energy field. Then I breathe out and drop the chi. Dropping the chi means relaxing my shoulders, my posture, sinking into the earth, grounding myself. Next thing, I rise up, my posture coming up. Now, I breathe out and I draw the chi in and expand out. So in the last one, I can absorb and expand at the same time. So I do it again. I breathe in, expand. Breathe out, relax, drop. Feel your tailbone. Breathe in, rise, feel the top of your head. Breathe out, absorbing in, expanding out. Breathing in, expanding. Breathe out, drop, relax. Breathe in, rise your posture. Release your breath and draw the chi in and expand the chi out. Again, breathing in, expanding. Breathing out, relaxing. Breathing in, rise your posture. Breathe out, expanding, absorbing. Okay, try a few times for yourself with a partner or by yourself. A few, maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and then we come back. Okay, so this was one way. I don't say this is the way you have to do all the time, but it's a way to explore. And we have this, I'm working with a lot, expanding and absorbing. And I'm doing it sometimes one at a time, and sometimes at the same time, both absorbing and expanding out. This creates a very special feeling when you're able to hold the energy in two directions, when you draw in and expand out at the same time. So we could also look at it from this picture here, absorbing in and expanding out. So let's look at Sorikoku-ho. So traditionally, oops, yes, traditionally, it's easy when he grabs to start expanding and maybe pushing. So instead of just expanding and pushing, of course, I had the feeling in the breathing exercise of expanding, but I will leave that to the side now. So my feeling here, when he grabs, is to start to absorb his energy. And it does not mean to collapse, but it's a feeling of like drawing the energy into my center. In order to do this, I have to release my elbow. If my elbows are pushing, I cannot draw the energy in. And the movement is a little bit like this, and then expanding here. So it would be in and out. I don't do it so much, but the feeling of dropping the elbow and expanding out instead of just expanding and pushing. So the first quality here, now when he grabs, absorbing his energy, release my elbows, sinking, rising and opening and expanding. And of course, in the end, it's not just out, it's in and out. This is very important. If you only push forward, we lose our balance, the energetical balance. So we are absorbing, but we're also extending. They're two working always together. So when I absorb, I still extend. And when I expand, I still absorb in the end. It's just the amount shifts. But the most important quality in the beginning here, first is absorb his energy, then expanding out and still absorbing in, holding my center. So maybe from here. And I do Sorikoku-ho in this way now, where I imagine a spiral movement. I'm not going to push his center. I'm going to draw his center into the spiral between him and me. So here, this spiral movement is there. So this becomes a spiral, absorbing into the spiral and expanding, opening. So absorbing in and expanding, opening. So please try for yourself, either by yourself or with a partner. Okay, so let's continue to work with the feeling of the center. And focusing on the lower dantian mostly now. How do we move? I mean, usually when we start moving and we have to help a beginner to move in Aikido, we tell them, please move with your center, you know, extend your arms from your center. So we move with the center. This is the first thing we learn. And then at some point, one of my teachers said to me, Jan, at your level, you shouldn't move with your center. You should move from your center. And I was like, what? And then I started to realize that on the next step, I don't want to move with my center. I want to move from my center. But the third level for me is to move through my center. The movement coming through my center. So this is like an education level, and you can go through it over and over and over again. You can come back to number 1, to number 2, and number 3, and circle around. But I will try to show you what I mean. If I cut with my center, I'm cutting with my center, but it becomes very heavy. And usually when we cut with the center, the body follows the cut. Because we are cutting with the center, we are grabbing with our center, but we become very dense, very heavy, and now we lean into the grab or the cut. When we start to cut from our center, our posture can come up because the energy comes from my center, not with my center. So the cut comes from my center. But the next level for me is to let the movement come through my center. The feeling of the movement is it starts somewhere behind me and it moves through me and it ends up in front of me. And I'm just something on this line of movement. So if I attack or if I grab or something, the energy is coming through me. So first was with your center, from your center, through your center, the movement coming through. So this also connects to the awareness of the Mingmen and the Dantian, the front and the back of the lower center. The Mingmen is in our back. And if we open the Mingmen here, we open and expand the lower back. So a little exercise. If you stand like this, you can go down, deeper down. Put your hands in your back. You breathe in, and what you do is you open and expand this area, breathing in through your Mingmen. Turn your hands and breathe out through your Dantian. Breathe in through your Mingmen. Breathe out through your Dantian. Imagine the energy moving through, coming from your back, breathing in, opening to the front, breathing out. But when you breathe out, don't lose your navel. Keep holding, so you pull your navel in. Breathing in, open the Mingmen. Breathe out, open your Dantian, but hold your posture and hold your belly. So here, breathe in, Mingmen. Breathe out, Dantian. Feel the energy coming through you, through the Mingmen to the Dantian. Of course, the energy can move in many directions, from the earth to the sky. There are many ways, but important feeling is moving through your center. So let's say if Mats comes here and he comes walking to me like this, and I will receive him and move him back. So first I will do this with my center. So I move him with my center. And usually my center moves because I'm moving him with my center. And then I say, I will change my hammy. I was standing in hammy, and now I'm standing on a straight line like this. I'm not going to move him with my center. I'm going to move him from my center. So he's coming here, I receive, and then the movement comes from my center. And the third level is the movement comes through my center. So I receive his energy, it comes through me into the earth, and then the energy comes back. So I receive and I release. So his power goes through me, and the power coming back goes through me. It's not bouncing on my center. I receive his energy, you can send it through your tailbone into the earth, and then you can give it back. So 2 and 2 as you like, or by yourself, imagine. Receiving and releasing. Let the energy come through from him, and let the energy come through back to him. Okay, so in everything we do, when we attack or when we receive the attack, we can play with these qualities, grabbing or moving with our center, from our center, or through the center. If I want to punch with my center, I put my belly forward and I punch with my center. But when I punch from my center, the power goes from my center to my fist. But when the power goes through, it comes through me and through my center into the punch. So we can play with this in when we are uke and nage, the energy moving through more and more. So the next thing I want to share with you is something from acupuncture. This is the basic meridian flow for the yin meridians coming up on the inside and front of the body, going up when we stand like this. And the yang flow is coming in the back, down from the sky to the earth. So these are meridian flow in the body, and we don't have to understand all of this. But what is interesting, when we move, again, why are people moving? So for example, if he grabs katadori here, maybe I stand like this. So here, he grabs katadori. I want to move him. Okay, so my image is I'm going to move his physical body. So first I make an atimi, and then I push the elbow. And then I bring him with me. So there's a lot of pushing and pulling, because I'm moving his physical body. How can I move his body if I'm not pushing and pulling? So this is because I have an idea that I'm going to push and pull him around. But there's a big problem with this. When I push here, he can release here. Oh. Why is he going to hold on here when I push his elbow? I don't know. Maybe he's in a kata form and we train together, so I learn to push his elbow and he learns to hold my keiko-gi. But in another perspective, pushing and pulling, it's very easy to counteract if you know what to do. You can either release or push back or pull back. So it's a kind of a limited practice. So my image these days, instead of pushing and pulling his body and his arms, is moving his mind or moving his energetical system. And I know the meridians in his body. So why I move my hand here is here. I touch the inside of his arm. And when I brush here, something changed in his mind and his energetical system. And it's very difficult for him to organize himself after this. Of course, if I wait too long, he will reorganize himself. So I have to do a fluid movement where I confuse his mind and his energy system. So it's much easier to release his arm after I open the meridian flow. If I go like this, here, here, and then try to take his hand off, he's very strong. He's strong because his mind is strong. But I'm not going to fight his body, I'm going to change his mind. So I change his mind by moving his energy system, brushing. And this is it should not be too far away from the arm, but it should not be pushing the arm. It's soft and firm, like this. So just try the difference between pushing the elbow and pulling, and just brushing the arm and coming back, okay? Okay, so let's continue on this feeling. It's a little bit like you have a brush, and it looks very soft, but it's very powerful. You can paint the whole house with it. So if he holds me here, this brush moves his mind, but it should not be in the air. It should touch his arm. So the feeling of brushing here, back and forth, is what I'm working with. You're brushing his energy system and his mind. So he is absorbed by this and opens. So let's look at the Ikkyu here. If he, maybe from this side. So if he comes, I make a very slow kata now. He comes Shomenuchi, I'm going to make Ikkyu Omote. So my idea now is here. So I'm very much on the outside. And of course, I can learn about the angles and everything. I'm not caring about the angles so much now. I'm just caring about where I am. I'm on the outside of his arm. And I feel I'm moving his arm. But I don't feel like brushing. So instead of moving this way on his arm, let me come from here, moving this way on his arm, I will completely change my idea and move on the inside. And I touch his foot, I'm coming up here. Wow. The feeling is like he comes with this hand, like a brush up here, touching his feet, his center up to the hand. And I'm actually moving on the inside. And I'm protecting myself with my angle because I'm moving a little bit on the angle. I'm not moving from the outside. I'm moving from the inside up. And I'm using this. So the brush comes through his feet, his center, and up. Because I want to open this line here. I don't want to push an arm from outside. I want to brush from inside here and enter. So let's come from the other side. So maybe from here. So the first one, I come from outside here. I come from outside here. Now I come from inside. His foot, his center, his hand. Up and on. Of course, I have to adjust the angle in the movement. Please try. Okay, so you can try this more after. So I want to mention that I'm talking about the feeling. And then we have the alignment. It's geometry. Alignment and feeling work together. You can't just feel and you can't just align. You have to use both. So if I'm here and I'm feeling a lot, so I'm doing this, I'm feeling a lot, but it doesn't help because I don't have my alignment, I don't have my position. So I need to understand the geometry in order to express the feeling fully. And the geometry is how I receive and enter, how I adjust and guide him in time and space. But then I need the feeling to open his system. So when he grabs me here, I can do it from static, it's okay, or movement, but it's actually more interesting from static because then it totally depends on me. Otherwise, I can somehow make it easy for me, just move with the action. But I like him to hold me, and I feel he's really holding me here. Now I make an alignment, and I have the feeling, and I enter on the inside. So I make an alignment, I come inside and enter. So he grabs me here, receiving, entering, aligning, touching the meridians, and turning back and coming in again. So alignment, geometry, and feeling work together. So we need to understand both. Talking about the alignment, the direction of the movement is up, not against him. This is very, very important. Because I see very many times in Ikkyo, we want to do Ikkyo. Try to not want to do Ikkyo. Try to make one movement, finish that movement, and continue with the next movement. Don't try to make Ikkyo, because you will be pushing and pulling. So I finish my movement up from the foot through his center up here. When this is completed, I change and I finish the movement down. So he grabs me here, I complete the movement up and I complete the movement down. Okay, please try. Okay, time flies when you have fun. So I want to show you something here. Maybe you thought this was Aikido and Qigong, but it's actually a construction course, how to make a building. So, you know these screws, expander screws for plaster. So what you do with this, you drill a hole, not in mats, but in the wood, and then you push the screw through here. When you have pushed it through, you start to drill. And what happens, the screw expands on the other side of the board. If you expand this screw too early, you can't move in. So when you move in, you have to be very thin. You have to enter. When you have reached the barrier and reached the other side, you can start to expand. That's how you put a screw in a plaster wall or something. So this is very, very important. I use this because I try to explain this many, many times, but when I look, I don't know if people really get it. But don't expand too early, because you will only push the board. So if I try to explain this with Aikido, yeah. When I expand too early here, I expand too early. It's like trying to push that expander screw through the board when it's already expanded. But here's the board, and I want to get through. And through, I also want him to come through, because when his energy comes through, I can enter. So when I absorb in the beginning, I make my mind very thin, not collapsing, but thin, and absorb his power. Then I imagine moving on the other side of this board. Now I start to expand. So my movement, if I exaggerate, would be this coming on the other side of the board and then expanding. But I'm not just expanding. I'm moving through and expanding. So here, breathing in, moving through, and then expanding. So the board is between Mats and me. Now, let's look at Yoko Menuchi. So we make a little exercise. Maybe Mats can come over there. So let's say first, maybe a little bit here, yeah. So I'll attack him with Yoko Menuchi. I'll move from my center and just hit with Yoko Menuchi. And he doesn't know anything. So what will happen now here, I strike him down. Then I tell him, maybe you should move from your center and extend your arms to protect yourself. So Mats moves from his center and extends his arms. So he stops me. Then I say, maybe you should protect and enter. So there's a quality in this extension. He protects and he enters. So it adds something. He enters and he protects himself, but he's still expanding. So, and it's okay because I kept my attack, because we're doing in a kata. So now, of course, I can grow my awareness for my attack. So when he's standing here, he makes a good move. So I'm here. But the problem is, why am I standing here? Well, I can release this arm. And if I have a hand in my face here, it's very easy to do this. Because if he has his hand in my face, he's overextended. I can easily remove it and come back. So it looks very good on YouTube here. I look really, really in deep shit here, but he's actually overextended. So don't push people's faces. Don't push people's arms, because they can release the arm and hit back. It works because we have an agreement and I'm just standing there. But if I grow as uke, he will have to grow. Now comes the interesting thing. I told him to move from his center and just extend. It worked when I made a very simple attack here. But now I will tell him to absorb, enter, and expand. like this. He will have to enter, open and expand, and then throw, or whatever. So now I come, he absorbs, he enters, and ooh, that's a completely different journey, because he's going in and he's very small when he goes in, because he needs to enter. He wants to enter and then he wants to expand. He cannot just run in and push my arm. So if Mats is coming here, and I do the same. So first comes Yokomi no Chi. First I come here. Now he can easily remove his arm, because I'm overextended. Next time, I'll absorb and expand in the right moment. I absorb and expand. I absorb, enter, and then I expand. The interesting thing, if you absorb first, you can expand much more. How can you expand from expansion? So please try for yourself. Okay, so we have a little time left. So I've always more material than I can cover. But here's another thing. The swing, which some of you have been doing Qigong with me, is a movement where we turn around our axis. And there are many different swings in Qigong when we turn around the axis. But what is interesting about this swing is the study of our axis. And if we look at this study of the axis as the root or the source of Tenkan and Ime Tenkan, because when we start to learn Tenkan and Ime Tenkan, we usually talk about feet. Move your feet in this way, and you will do Tenkan. Move your feet in this way, you will do Ime Tenkan. But for a moment, if we let go of that image and think about the axis, if I study Ime Tenkan and Tenkan from my axis, so traditionally, if I would move with my feet, I would stand here and say, okay, let's do Ime Tenkan. I move from A to B here, Ime Tenkan. I'm moving my feet and making an Ime Tenkan. Now I will change my concept and stand in the middle of my Ime Tenkan. And this is my axis here. And doing the swing, which is a Qigong exercise that I really like, and there are many variations of this. You're turning around your axis. And now I'm standing in the center of my Ime Tenkan. So when I want to do Ime Tenkan now, I will expand in one direction and I will expand in the other direction. But the core of my Ime Tenkan is in the middle. It's not in the end. It's here. This is the important place in my Ime Tenkan. I will expand in this way and expand in this way. But what do I feel here? Well, I feel a very special place here, a place where I can actually change my Ime Tenkan. I could move in any direction. So it's not a movement from there to there, it's a movement around your axis that expands in two directions. So having this feeling here, so when I expand it in this way and expand it in this way, and then I stop here and see, maybe I will go this way for my Irmitenkan. But the center of my Irmitenkan is in the middle. It's in my axis. Tenkan, same idea, but I will shift my axis. So I'm standing here and doing a movement from the Qigong where I shift my axis and drop my tailbone here. Shift my axis, drop my tailbone. So I'm shifting my axis, dropping my tailbone. And this becomes Tenkan. Shifting my axis, dropping my tailbone. So it's important to have a little pull from the top of your head. Come here, release this leg and drop your tailbone. Then you shift to the other side, drop your tailbone, like you sit down and release here. Now, this becomes my Tenkan. And then I just have to step. So the quality comes from my core, not from the feet and from the external. Another point about this, as I look at it, the basic movement for Tenkan is a feeling from above. So when I come here, this is a feeling from above, dropping into my hand. But the basic feeling for Irmitenkan is dropping. It's dropping into the core, into my tailbone. So from here, when I make Irmitenkan, I drop inside and turn. So I drop and turn. Of course, you can also use the movement from above, but it's actually very, very dangerous because it's very easy for him to change that movement. So if I come here, yes, it's very easy to counter that. So it's possible, but I would say for me, the foundation of Irmitenkan is in the core, dropping and coming up again. In Tenkan, it's the opposite. You're coming from above and sinking down. So Tenkan comes from the sky, Irmitenkan comes from the earth. And the core is your axis in the movement. And now I see the time is almost over. So before we end, let's make one more of this breathing we started with. So breathe in, expand. Breathe out, drop your chi. Breathe in, expand up to the top of your head into the sky. And then release your breath and draw in and expand out, absorbing and expanding at the same time. So let's do it together. Breathe in, expand into your body, into the space around your body. Release your breath and drop the chi inside, through your tailbone, into the lower body, into the earth, relaxing. Breathe in, rise inside. Feel your posture coming up, pushing the top of your head up to the sky. Now, release your breath and absorb in and expand out. One more. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, drop your chi. Breathe in, rise your chi. Breathe out, absorb and expand at the same time. One last time. Breathe in, expand. Fill up. Breathe out, drop your chi. Breathe in, rise your chi. Breathe out, absorb and expand at the same time. Okay, thank you very much. Let's finish. どうもありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございました。
I hope you got some inspiration. And again, it's not about the truth. It's about research and being inspired and trying different ideas and different feelings and going deeper into what we're already doing. You know, if you think, I mean, these are words, but if you play with words and you say extending and contracting, and I say absorbing and expanding, you know, because we say move from your center and extend your arms. You know, I learned this when I started Aikido. Move from your center and extend your arms. But then it becomes very rigid somehow. And what I got from the Qigong exercise was to expand, because expand is from all directions. You're expanding around something in all directions. And then the opposite to expanding for me is absorbing. And you could say compressing, but it's not a tension, you know? That's the problem. If you compress, it's easy to become tense. But it's in your mind, you compress, but it should be in a relaxed way. That's why I say absorb, because absorb is relaxed. Compressing is some kind of tense, you know? So expanding and absorbing are the best words I can find to define my feeling, you know?